Craig Smoak.
All right, good afternoon on this Friday afternoon as we get to September the 10th. There's much to get to. We will talk Cowboys and Buccaneers last night, and yes, 9/11, 20 years later with Navy SEAL Clint Bruce. We will hear from UCF, Houston, Brigham Young, and Cincinnati, those who cover them, plus talk Baylor football as well. But today, the Big 12 expansion became official. And Mac Rhodes, Baylor Director of Athletics, right off the top of the show with Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, David Smoak. And Mac, I know that you couldn't quite say too much on Wednesday, and there's probably still some things that have to be tied up. What does today mean in your opinion?
Well, I think first, before I go down that road, you mentioned 9/11, and as you know, tomorrow paying special tribute, and just I know it's a memory and etched in all of our minds, and just blessings to all of those that suffered, and to all of those that had the courage to fight through, and just prayers and thoughts out to all of those people.
So this is done, right? I mean, there's still some, I'm sure, T's to cross, dot the I's or whatever, but now you can, the Big 12 is going to expand.
Yeah, I think it's going to expand with four terrific institutions, great institutions academically, and certainly athletically over time. They've proven that they're as good as anybody in the country, and I'm excited for the 8 remaining members, and I'm excited for those 4 new members, and I think we have a real chance to be viable. Today speaks to certainty and stability and relevance in the Power Five landscape, and certainly know and understand that actions speak louder than words, and we'll have to go compete and do all of that on the field, court, etc. But I'm excited. I think it's a great day for the Big 12, and I think we have a great future ahead of us.
Mac, how quickly did expansion really come about? Was it immediate, or was it something that took a couple weeks?
I think that the thought was immediate, but quite frankly, I think there were some things that we all tried and needed to go through and get through in relation to just speaking candidly. First reaction, right, is to look to yourself and, okay, what's best for us, what's our next best move, what's out there, and I think it took probably a week, 2 weeks for the 8 of us to realize that and our best chance is together, and we can be viable. We can continue to be Power 5. We can continue to have a seat at the CFP table. We continue to have the best men's basketball conference in the country, and so I think when we got to that point, Paul, is the process really moved rapidly, expedited, and we quickly, and clearly understood that those 4 were the best 4, and we're certainly excited and grateful, and again, it's now looking forward, and you've heard me say this on the show before. It's really hard to move forward if you keep looking in the rearview mirror, and we're gonna look forward. I told our coaches today that the work has just begun, And today, don't get me wrong, today is an exciting day, and it's one that should be celebrated. But we'll need to get back to work immediately, and understand that there's some hard work ahead of us, meaning the Big 12, to be the very best conference that we can be, and I certainly look forward to being part of that.
So, Mac, when it comes to the actual discussions, I know you probably can't tell us every detail, but, when people like ourselves or fans are talking about the attraction of certain schools, we talk about everything from location to enrollment to market to, this and that. And when it boils down to it, and you guys are determining which schools are the best fits for the Big 12, what things are you looking at to help you make that decision? What are the pulls, so to speak, when looking at who's a good expansion candidate?
Yeah, I think that you're certainly looking at TV market. That's not the primary factor, but it's important. TV market in my mind speaks to potential. You can be in a large TV market and nobody really care, and so it's certainly an important factor, but it's not the factor. I think the one that's probably more important is, no matter what market you're in, who's watching, right? The numbers. What type of audience do you have when you're playing a home game? Meaning, how many eyeballs are watching via TV, and even when you're on the road. And so that was certainly an important part of it. Look, I always caution to talking so much about it, because it feels like when you do, you forget about all of your other sports. And hopefully, here at Baylor, we don't do that. We love all 530 of our student athletes and all 19 sport programs, and we want them all to win championships. But football is a big piece of this, such a huge part of it, because it drives the TV. And so, you look at, Craig, you look at football relevancy, and I think you can say, emphatically that these four institutions have won over time. And you think about, each one of them, and they've won at a high level with multiple coaches. And so I think that speaks to commitment. I think it speaks to infrastructure, resources, and I think it speaks to the access to, meaning, ability to recruit and be close to really, really good talent. And then, certainly the men's basketball piece of this was important when you think about, the Big 12 conference being the best in men's basketball. I think that's really, really important for our brand. And, I know that there's already been stuff out there, Ken Palm, that we continue to be the number one rated conference with the addition of the four. And I do think it's a chance for women's basketball to continue to get better, and all of our other sports. So, and then I think there's intangibles, Craig. There's things like the people at those places, at those institutions, and I can tell you that I certainly believe there's really, really great leadership at each of the institutions, and so that's a part of it as well. So those four clearly rose to the top when we looked at it through those different lenses.
Mac, I know that we don't have a lot of time with you, and you gave us plenty of time Wednesday, but two divisions, we've learned that. Do you have any clue about the divisions yet? Is it still plenty of time to work on that? And do you want all the Texas schools to be in one division?
Yeah, I would just say timeout. And I know there's been some of that out there, but I can categorically say that we haven't talked about any detail of divisions. That certainly, obviously makes sense with, what could be 14 teams for a couple of years potentially, still fluid. But and then thereafter, if you're back at 12, so that makes sense. But I still think there's a lot to talk about, a lot to consider, and I can at least for myself, I'm not ready to go vote on divisions tomorrow.
Okay.
Does this feel like you're starting a brand new conference, maybe even more than expanding one?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think there's this brotherhood amongst the eight, and you know, I think when you go through adversity together, and we've done that over the last 4 weeks, that there's an opportunity to bring you closer together. And I really believe this has brought the eight institutions closer together, the 8 presidents, chancellors, the eight athletic directors. And so there's always going to be that piece. But then there's this newness of opportunity, and how can we maximize this? You know, how can we maximize it from now until they enter the league? How can we maximize it once they get into the league, and then beyond 24, 25? And so there's this newness, this opportunity to really kind of roll up your sleeves and new strategic plan on how we move this forward and we best position our conference.
Mac, there's been a lot of talk about, you know, the Power Five part of this. What constitutes that or determines that? You know, there's a lot of people that I read and I'm like, you know, it's maybe the Big 12 won't be Power Five. How does all of that work to where go?
No, go ahead. No,
I was just, how does all of that work?
And are you guys assured that you'll stay that way? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, when you think about really this all started with Autonomy 5, and it was really Autonomous 5,
right.
And it was a legislative, an NCAA legislative designation, and that designation, you know, until there's some other model, different model, and you know, there's certainly been a lot of conversation about that. As long as there's an Autonomy 5 designation, which then people translated into Power 5,
right?
We're going to be part of that, and we feel strong. We feel good about that. We think in terms of revenue, not just TV, but other revenue, CFP, basketball units that we earn because participation in the number of teams that participate in advance within the men's basketball tournament, all those sources of revenue, absolutely will continue to be in the top 5, amongst the top five conferences, and I think it remains to be seen where we land within the 5, and so and you know, continue to have a seat with the CFP. You know, that contract ends in 2026. You know, is there a different structure? You know, do we end up expanding? Is that 8? Is that, you know, 12? What does that look like? But I feel confident when you match up our football team versus the rest of the country. I think we all feel really confident that we're going to continue to be part of that group, and you know, so I think we all feel good about how we're positioned, and so yes, I think we you know, feel strongly and again know that we got to continue to perform out on the field, but we feel really strong about our position in college athletics.
Final thing, Mac, obviously today's a day for celebration or enjoyment and all of that, satisfaction. But aren't you guys basically already about 2 weeks down the road from what everyone even knows today, that you've already looked at things that you will have over the next week, 2 or 3, and that's already under discussion, and today's just basically icing on the cake from what the last 2 months have been like?
Yeah, I think just, you know, today makes it official, obviously, and you know, I think many of us have already, you know, as you mentioned, Smoak, already been thinking about, you know, 2 weeks beyond, 3 weeks beyond, a year beyond, and and how do we maximize this opportunity? What are all of the things that we need to tackle and address? And I'm just excited. I'm excited for the 8 of us. I'm excited for the 4 institutions. Great to Bob Bowlesby and the staff. I do think this was a heavy lift, but many participated, and I think I really believe that we landed in the very best possible spot that we could, and we have a conference that will be and continue to be relevant in the national landscape of college athletics.
Thank you, Mac. Appreciate it. I know everyone appreciates the time, and everybody, all the schools that put into it and getting this done, because just 2 months ago, there was a huge dark cloud and it was almost life support. Now, all of a sudden, there's breath, fresh air, quite frankly. Thanks for your time. We'll see you tomorrow at the game.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.
Mac Rose.